And then we got an email here from Chris. He writes, were you, and we got a bunch of these Joe Rogan mentions. We were apparently, I wake up one morning and I go on Twitter, I go on Facebook, and everybody's like, dude, do you realize Joe Rogan talked about you on his podcast? Well, it wasn't Joe Rogan talking about him, but I was mentioned on his podcast. I'm freaking out. I'm like, holy shit, he said our URL, we're going to blow up, but apparently he didn't say the URL. He said my name, so I don't know if it helped much.
Would he ever say the URL on anything?
He might. I think Red Band might have helped us out, but maybe he just didn't know what the URL was.
Both nice guys regardless.
Maybe, yeah. So here's what it says. It says, this email from Chris, it says, were you aware that Red Band mentioned you on the Joe Rogan Experience in regards to your Stern rant? It was about 3/4 of the way through episode 627. I was pissed that he didn't mention the name of your show, but he did mention your name, so hopefully some of his listeners will filter over. Thanks again for the great show. For me, it doesn't just pass time while I'm working. It actually gives me something to really look forward to. Thanks, Chris. And, yeah, I really appreciate that shout out on the Rogan show. I got the clip here I'm going to play. All right, here we go.
Damn, producer's good now.
Everybody that does a podcast has benefited from their podcast if they do stand up. Every single person.
This guy named Dizzle, he does a podcast out of Austin. He's the one that first turned me on to this whole Howard Stern podcast thing. He made a great point. Is if you look online, if you go to YouTube and you find some recent shows of Howard Stern on there, and then you look at recent shows of you. It's amazing the difference of the numbers. It's like there was one that he brought up that was like hundreds of thousands of somebody just put up an episode, or you put up an episode on YouTube, hundreds of thousands. Then there was like one in the same time period of Howard Stern, 2,000. But this is like the main guy that puts up Howard Stern's show every day on the YouTube. So it's just interesting. What is his numbers? Because none of us know. Sirius probably doesn't even know.
They know. They know. He's huge. Don't get it twisted. Howard Stern's gigantic.
I'm not saying he's not gigantic, but what is his numbers?
You know what? And I'll sort of agree with Joe Rogan there.
That's a valid point. I know what he's going to say.
He's big. Okay? Howard Stern's big, but what I'm saying is he's nowhere near as big as where he was.
Of course not.
No, but he tries to make it seem like he's getting bigger. He tries to insinuate like pretty much everybody on Sirius listens to him.
Rogan's point was that the reason why you're not seeing the views on YouTube is that his primary listening base is found online. Like, I'm fine on Sirius. Found on Sirius when you're driving and everything. They're tuning in there. They get their listens there. Why should they listen to a YouTube show?
No, I agree.
And that was a good point. I was like, that makes perfect sense.
But what are his listeners?
Because if Rogan had a show just like that, then his YouTube audience would drop off a little bit as well.
I'm willing to bet if you add up all Howard Stern's listeners, he's probably got less listeners than Joe Rogan.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because look, you just got to look at the engagement on people's posts.
So he's just tricking the hell out of all.
He's fucking over Sirius. He's got him fooled. I don't know if he's still got him fooled because his contract's coming up, and if Sirius is smart, they'll let him go. Because, okay, first contract, right?
I think it might be the only thing keeping Sirius alive. It is the only thing,
That was the first thing that kind of helped him out, right?
Right.
They were at about 600-something thousand subs. And Howard Stern comes in. Sure, they helped him out. They paid him $100 million. If that's what they want to do, go ahead. I agree he was worth it then. Okay? Right. Round two, at that point, what's happened, he's off regular radio, right? And most people haven't even been listening to him that whole time because not everybody, the amount of audience he had back then is not all migrated over to Sirius yet.
But Sirius is on almost every fucking car, bro.
That's what you're saying now. But I remember back when he first started, right? It was a pain in the ass to get Sirius. It was basically you got this little handheld thing.
Right. Oh, I hated those things.
It was horrible. And you'd have this fuzzy sound.
I hate that shit.
That you'd have to route through your radio, right?
The stiletto.
Right.
Remember that one. And
there was no way to have it a clean, nice interface. Right? There
still isn't a way right now.
No, now there is. When you buy a new
phone? No, it's there's still like in your car. It's in your car.
It's in almost any new car when you buy, right? It's almost in any new car.
It's still not portable, really.
Right. No, and now you can get it on your cell phone, right? So there's like 22, 23, 24 million subs on Sirius right now, right?
Yeah.
So what basically happened, he got on Sirius. He probably got quite a bit of his followers to come over, right?
Right.
Whatever the initial count,
well, they would have
6
to,
months.
Because that's where it was, right? Right.
This is how they probably, like 6 months after, you could probably tell, like, okay, all those people that came in, a good percentage of them were probably from Stern, right?
Right.
But then I think he just started falling off because his show progressively went downhill. And I used to be a super
What
fan.
makes you think that part? Is that an assumption, or is that definitely like
That's my personal opinion.
okay? Because you listen, that's right. I get
I'm
it
a
now.
super fan,
That's
right?
That's
I
right.
used to listen since I was 11 years old. I moved to this country from India.
Right.
I would say Stern kind of shaped my thoughts back then, because, and I would defend the guy to the death, right, back then.
And you still did as of 2 years ago.
Right.
3.
No, whenever I stopped listening, I think 3 or 4 years ago.
That's right. When you had the other house, I remember that. You guys
And I
were-
stopped listening for a reason, right?
Right.
I just felt that he became a greedy old prick. I mean, just a greedy motherfucker. Like I just despised how greedy he was. And his show, and that was 4 years ago, right? Turn it on now, and it's a completely different person. It's not even the Howard Stern I'd listened to growing up, or even 4 years ago.
Right.
And I'll get into that in a second, but I want to get back to my thoughts on his subs, right? Because I don't think Sirius should renew Howard Stern. I don't know why he says he's got like 22. He doesn't say it outright, but if you listen to it, he kind of insinuates it on his shows. But I don't think he's even got as many subs as Joe Rogan does. Because here's what happened at one point, right? Whenever Sirius and XM merged, they had some kind of clause in the contract where if he can get a certain amount of subs in, he gets an extra, I think it was 300. I don't know the exact, but he sued for about $300 million. He sued Sirius, saying, you should have paid me. I brought all those people over.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, those guys were on XM, right? They weren't listening to Howard Stern. They were forced to come over when they merged with Sirius. But anyways, the judge just threw it out, and I think he tried to go back in there and go back and have whatever it's called when you go back and you don't agree with the decision. But I think they threw it out again. I'm not sure on the second time, but I know the first time they just tossed it out.
Well, are you trying to compare subscribers on Sirius to subscribers on YouTube? Because Joe isn't on Sirius.
Right? No, I'm
So
not. I'm
a
not comparing.
subscriber on YouTube can see a show again and again, go previous, back, forward, wherever they
Right.
want to go. On Sirius, you're kind of getting what's airing right.
That's why I
then.
don't think people are even listening to him on there.
But that might be a reason why Joe Rogan has more than Howard now already. Mm-hmm. Because on YouTube, it's the next big thing. And
Right.
I mean, look at everybody on YouTube. I mean, you can go to when you find someone you like, you tend to go right down the line and start listening to all their shit.
Yeah.
Because it's on demand, ready to go.
Right.
Now, on Sirius, you don't get that shit. You,
And
you just know
plus-
that he's on like a couple channels, and you're like, all right, well,
You ask any
I
younger
have to listen to
person,
what's going on now. You know?
right? Yeah. I stopped. Like if I listen to his show, I'll just tune in and out real quick, and I'll be kind of disgusted with him, and I'll
Maybe he's
leave.
going with the times, man. It's completely possible. The people right now that are making a lot of money are people like Seacrest, and like they're just selling out. You know, they're just, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Which is what he's
They're
done.
being a little bit more PC. You can't say the things
He's-
that he
he's
used
gone
to say back in the
completely
day.
PC.
Can't do the N word. Can't do the F word.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Because you really, I mean, look what happened to that Kramer guy from Seinfeld
Right.
many years ago. But still, I mean, you just can't do these
Well,
things
to
anymore.
a fan like, and I'm not even saying that's not even my argument. Like to a fan like me, I'm disappointed because it's not the same show.
Right, but it can't be
But
the same
he's
show, I don't
such
think.
a greedy person. It's just the feeling I got. Like I met Joe Rogan a few times, right?
Right.
He's one of the reasons I do the podcast. Like back in the day, whenever I met him at the comedy place back in Houston when I lived there, and I was the guy that could barely talk, right? And it was him and Red Band, and I told him the whole story about how whenever I moved to this country, I got slapped with a bunch of dicks and stuff, and
Hey, that's a fucking icebreaker, man. That's how you get to him, man.
hey,
I
there,
thought you told this story already.
yeah, I've told it on the air a few times. So
It's like you gotta be memorable. I gotta be memorable.
Rogan goes
And that's
like,
what you do.
Rogan was like laughing his ass off. He goes, "Man, you're pretty fucking funny," or something, and that gave me confidence.
Pre-podcast or like
yeah,
in-
pre-confidence. So I go
Pre-podcast
yeah.
of his or yours.
Oh, way pre-podcast
Of
of his
any podcast.
and mine, right?
Okay.
So then I go home. I start the initial
Hold on. I
Get
have
Late
to interrupt.
Radio.
Is this Fear Factor or no? This
I
is Fear Factor then.
I think he had just started Fear Factor.
So this is Fear Factor Rogan.
Well, I don't know. This was
He was
like
a comedian that
early,
got on Fear Factor.
I knew him as a
right?
comedian.
Right. Okay.
And then
God, this is
I
like
think,
early, dude.
Yeah, this is, dude, I've
Holy
been following
shit.
Joe Rogan forever, right? So I go home, start my podcast. Eventually it becomes like number 15 on iTunes for a while, and then shit blows up and fucks up, and I fuck it all up, and I quit podcasting for years, right?
Nothing blows up, but the interpersonal relationships just
Right.
crumble,
I
right?
could. Well, I found these guys kind of almost off of Craigslist.
You DJ wished them.
Yeah, you know how roommates and shit never work out off Craigslist, right?
We'll get to
these
that one
guys
day.
were these guys were total pieces of shit. When I realized that, and I'm like, I'm about to be famous here and rich, and they're gonna be rich and famous along with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck this, dude. I want nothing to do with this, man. These are not the.
But we kept
these are not my
Metalhead.
bros.
We kept Metalhead.
We kept Metalhead. That's the only, Metalhead was the
He's the highest caliber of all those guys.
Right.
Oh, Jesus.
That's funny that you paired up with that guy, but you ditched all the other ones. You're just like,
They must have been pretty
well,
bad.
they were pieces of shit, like people. They were pieces of shit people.
I kind of like the Asian dude. I don't know why, but I got
Well, he got conned by the other guy. The other guy was a total scumbag.
the bigger of the two was the one I was like, eh. But the Asian guy was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I thought he was pretty
a cool dude.
Who was that
guy? Alan Chow.
I liked him.
Yeah. So, anyways, now I'm back doing this, and I got all riled up the first time because Al Stern was talking shit about podcasting. Oh, it's for losers. If I just kept going where I was going with this, a lot of people would have heard my name by now. You know?
Yep.
But that's how people start now. You're a YouTube guy. How many people do you know on YouTube that were doing nothing a year ago? Now they have 1 million subs and they're making a living.
Oh yeah, that's not uncommon anymore.
But that's the thing with
yeah.
Stern that pisses me off now that I don't like. He's a greedy old prick, right? He wants all the money. That you can tell. That's all he thinks about all day long is money, money, money. And I don't want Stern or whoever's listening to this to think, oh, you're just saying that because he's a Jewish guy. Because look at me, man. I look like a terrorist, right? But
no.
but
some complete
people are calling me that on my YouTube channel.
Some complete lowlife might think that.
We'll see. Yeah, those were the Stern listeners attacking me on the YouTube channel, calling me a terrorist and shit. But I'm totally. I love Jewish people, right? My mom's from Haifa, which
Right.
is in Israel. So like, I feel like Stern, the way he's acting, he's giving Jewish people a bad name. How greedy he is. He's completely living up to this stereotype. Because here's what I noticed about Stern, right? He's always complaining about money. He's never happy, even though he's got hundreds of millions of dollars. I would estimate myself, he's probably close to or a billionaire.
What?
Yes, because if you watch him closely and read up on some of the stuff he's doing,
Yes.
like all his buddies are hedge fund guys, and he's always hanging out with hedge fund people, right?
So there's probably some money that's like so offshore that it's not even recorded here by the government.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much of that probably. When you deal with the hedge fund stuff, that's what happens, I think. Hedge fund people, I think they're like the king of just really trying to figure out how to get those loopholes going.
Well, here's how much money he's got, right? So I think he's got like 3 houses at least, and we're talking in the tens of millions, right? But he just bought this mansion in Florida, right? $52 million. And $52 million to our listeners out there, it doesn't sound like that much, but like that.
What?
No, but like there's guys out there with $80 million.
Dude, 50
but they're
is-
just getting into the 80
50 is
million.
ridiculous.
When he bought it, $52 million. We're talking that's at the very top
Yeah.
of what housing gets at. We're
Right.
talking billionaires buy those kind of houses because
Right.
just the upkeep is probably a couple mil a year.
Well, some of the smart billionaires don't even do that kind of stuff.
Well, that's where they park their cash. When people have so much money,
Yeah.
they can't even put it in the stock market anymore. They got to park it somewhere. So they're like, other billionaires will buy this house. It's worth it. Like he lives on the ocean, right? But this is how much money he's got. So he buys the $52 million house, right?
Right.
And he dumps another $8 to $10 million renovating it. And here's what the article says. This is on Gossip Extra. He was basically trying to satisfy his wife, right? She wanted a larger closet, is what it says.
Wow.
So they told him he had to tear down this whole staircase and move it to the other side in order to get this closet. I mean,
I think I'd like to be in that position one day.
yeah, but come on, how pussy whipped is this Stern?
That's why CMFK took down that deck outside.
Oh yeah.
I just looked this up. OK Magazine says that he's worth $500 million.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
I think
guess
he's worth
half a
more.
bill. That was my first guess.
He's
It was like-
definitely worth $500 million, but I think he's worth more. But don't you think that's pretty pussy whip though? Like he's completely.
to satisfy a woman is not pussy whip. That's like a natural.
I don't think he's trying to
innate
satisfy her.
human
I think
male
she's got him by the
thing.
balls.
Well, look at it relatively to what he actually has in the bank. I mean, like, what have you spent on your wife? That was like maybe a couple $100. You know, you look at the percentages.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it wasn't much for him.
Yeah, but 500
is
million, $10 million.
1/10. Yeah, it was just 1/10 of his like entire shit.
It's
So
still
it's like-
it's still crazy, right? Like it's to me that's insane. 10 million just to move some shit to get a bigger closet for his wife. If that's even true, I don't know. This is the gossiping. Maybe he just added a
Jeez.
giant wing to the house. But that sounds to me like
That doesn't sound greedy. That just sounds like if you have the money and you have to park it somewhere, then you buy this big house. But that's not greedy.
no, that's not greedy. That he's and I'm happy for the guy. He's worked hard. If he's able to afford that, that's fine. But that's not the greediness I'm talking about.
I think you're upset that he changed somewhere down the line. It's not the same Stern that
Yeah,
you grew up with,
you
and,
looked at-
he shaped you, and now you're like looking at him like, "Come on, keep going, like you're the best." And he turned on you,
No, I think here's what he's doing
or
with
he's
Sirius,
just lying
right?
to motherfuckers now.
That's what I think he's
And that
lying to
bothers you.
Sirius
And that
because
bothers you.
I don't think he's got as many listeners that he likes to insinuate. And here's why, because if you look at his engagement numbers,
right.
like he made a big deal about the whole Madonna thing, right? He interviewed Madonna and he tweets out this video like, check out Madonna, and he probably thought this thing's going to go wild on the internet and
Is he
everybody's
big
gonna
on
be talking
Twitter?
about
First
it.
of all,
1.6 million followers. I think it's 100K more than Rogan, right?
okay.
But that's just people probably, oh, it's Howard Stern on there. Let's add him. Probably not even a listener, right? Because look at his engagement number. It might even be fake followers because a lot of people buy followers, right? To look more popular. So he tweeted out that Madonna video. He made such a big fucking deal about it. 3 days later, I look on there, 92 retweets.
But honestly, I don't think anyone cares about Madonna though.
Are you kidding?
So it's like, no. Listen, I think it's two people that no one cares about anymore. I don't think the younger generation cares about Madonna, and the younger generation really is like predominantly on Twitter and celebrities.
She was like, there was a list that came out of the most, like the highest income of, or net worth of singers, and she was like right
course.
behind Paul McCartney.
Absolutely, I agree with that part because she's been around for 30 years now. She's still trying to sing, and it's like, just, I think it's time to. I think you're done. Like, she's trying
Come on,
to
you
stay
don't want her
young.
to come out in the lingerie, the reverse
Not
bra. and
anymore,
stuff.
man. Like, I mean, she's older now, you know.
Yeah.
And you have your day. It's like I'm trying to think. You have your day, and it's kind of like the fact that they just keep going and trying to milk it. I'm like, God, and she's still stepping off the stage with like sexy outfits. I'm like, dude, you're like 60, you know, like
Yeah.
chill the fuck out. It doesn't make any sense to me anymore.
Here's something else I noticed about the guy that really annoys me. Like, I'll see him talk to celebrities on the show,
Right.
and I've seen him work his way up the ladder,
right.
and he'll ditch all it. Like back in the day, he'd be hanging out with his regular friends like me and you, and then as he slowly started getting bigger and bigger,
Yeah.
you'd notice like he's not hanging out with those people anymore, and then you'd
That's
see him.
natural though, bro.
Well, then you'd see him hanging out with like micro celebrities.
Okay.
Like it'd be like he'd drop like, I'm hanging out with Rob Zombie. Well, I don't like anybody that ditches their friends, right? So I just get a feeling that's what he does because he'll be like, I'm hanging out with Rob Zombie all the time. Then you won't hear about Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
Then he'll be like, I'm hanging out with Natalie Maines from the Dixie Chicks, right?
Right.
She's like almost a nobody, right? You kind of know her, but like you know the Dixie Chicks. If
Right.
somebody's like Natalie Maines, you're like, who the fuck is that?
I live in Texas, so I know who that is.
Oh, okay.
But no one else would know who that is.
It's just-
Probably.
right. She's not that well known, right? So
Yeah.
what I notice, he'll get these celebrities on his show, right? And then he'll ask them, he'll say, so do you have any other celebrity friends? At first I thought, oh, it's just cool. Like he wants to like hear about
So he spiderwebbed into
other
all of them?
people. Right.
Yeah.
But he's like a vampire that'll suck your Rolodex right out of you, right? Like you'll hear them name some friends, right? Celebrity friends.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that annoys me about the guy, right? So every person he asks, like, how much money do you make? How much did you get paid on this? Oh, you must be rich, right? But it's at first, as a listener, I was like, oh, that maybe he thinks we think it's interesting. And then you realize he's just trying to compare himself.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
do I
gauging
have
him.
more money than this guy?
Maybe that's just something.
What did
that-
this guy do to make? Should I make more? So he's just using the show kind of to just get himself richer. But he's putting out this shit content. If you're a big fan of his from back in the day, it's nothing like all he does now is like celebrity interviews.
Right.
Because all he does
Does
is
he
go
eke
to
any
these
of the
parties.
crazy stories out of him or no?
Sometimes, but like if he's
But it's not a primary thing. Like the back in the day, he would like just go for the crazy shit, right?
yeah.
I remember listening to some of his stuff. There's not a lot like you. You knew everything about that guy, his interviewing style, and he would copy a lot of it. But all these guests that you would have on your previous show that was like number 15 on iTunes.
Yeah.
Man, you had the weirdest stories coming out of these people, man. You would just keep going.
All you gotta do
delving.
is be honest and ask people, man.
Yeah.
Retard and like Beetlejuice and shit.
What?
CMFK is finally awake.
CMFK awake with something we don't even know what he
That's
said.
what I remember about the Stern is like
Oh,
Beetlejuice
Beetlejuice.
and shit.
But that wasn't what we were talking about.
No, the best one that you should see is the one that Dizzle keeps. Like, I swear you have this thing saved on your phone because you can always access it so fast, which is really spooky. But
Tiny?
that's this thing. He said it right
See,
there.
that was Howard Stern back in the day. They like a 700 pound. That was the best Howard Stern years when Artie Lang was on the show. So, in my opinion,
Does
right?
he know what we're talking about?
No, he had like an 800-pound guy call in, and just they found out his whole daily schedule, what he does. Like to me, that was Howard Stern.
Nothing.
Now it's him just being PC.
Yeah.
Oh no, he used to shit in a pan.
Oh, Jesus.
He'd roll
You
over.
remember that contest that you would always pull up on
The small
Check
penis
this shit
contest?
out, dude. Look
Yeah.
at this. I mean, that's the thing I was.
That's
talking
Howard
about.
Stern from
I
back
know
in the
that.
day that I liked.
But you have to see. That's the one of those.
Now
things.
it's Howard Stern that acts like he never said a curse word, and he's on America's Got Talent.
What's wrong with people evolving, dude?
Evolving, he's still 70. He's almost 70 years old now, like 60 something.
So that's an
But
okay
he's
thing
not
to
evolved.
do.
He's still. I got to hear now about a 70-year-old guy, how he cleans out the inside of his asshole, and then how he masturbated. Like seriously, do you want to
At least
hear like a
he's evolving.
70-year-old guy
Look, Bieber's
masturbating?
Check this out. Bieber's young, right? And he makes these baby, right? All these fucking songs blow up. The little chicks love him, right? As he gets older, the songs start getting a little bit more EDM in there. He starts going with the times. Now when he becomes Paul McCartney's age, if he's not dead, he'll be making some love ballad that gets found on some Disney film, right?
All right. Well, this
Evolution,
is all
man.
over the place, but my original point that I
Yeah.
was trying to get to, which
We
I
are polar
completely
opposites, dude.
blew
We are polar
everything on this
opposites.
whole segment that I wanted to talk about. But the main point I was trying to make is I don't think he's got the amount of fucking listeners he claims. He's full of shit. Howard Stern's full of fucking shit, and he's a greedy fuck that just wants to collect a paycheck. And I don't know why Sirius is still paying him. And fuck him for saying that podcasting's for losers, because you know what? He's probably going to be podcasting in January, and he's going to be shitting bricks when he realizes he's not got 22 million listeners going to follow him over there. He'll probably get 400,000 people to pay. He'll still make a shitload of money, but he's not going to make Howard Stern money, because for the last 5-6 years, Howard Stern money's been bullshit. It's just him claiming all sorts of listeners. How the fuck do you know how many listeners are on Sirius? You listen to satellite radio. It's one way only. They have no way of fucking tracking who's listening to what. Now, with that new app, maybe they do. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes on this negotiation of his, that he keeps acting like, oh, I'll wait till the last minute. No, he doesn't. He's just, that's his bullshit negotiation. Wait until the very last
We're gonna
minute.
have a podcast when the contract comes up and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
finally right. and
Well,
you're
this is a mess, man. I'm all over the place because I didn't get to what I fucking want to talk about, which is Howard Stern's full of shit with his numbers. He does not have what he insinuates that he has. He's got a handful of what he used to have, and that's it. Anyways, hey, I'm all over the fucking place with this. I didn't get to talk about what I wanted to. I got all thrown off, but
Thanks to Bonafide.
No,
Thanks,
I
Bonafide.
have to make questions, man. If we're we're not trying to be polar opposites. I'm sitting there going, all right, I'm trying to show you like people change over time, man. Like,
no, I agree. He has changed over time.
and you will too, man.
And I'm
this
not wor-
podcast won't be vile as fuck in like 30 years.
No, it won't.
You're gonna have kids all over the place, and your wife's gonna be maybe the same wife. I don't know.
And CMFK's house would have been destroyed to where we don't have a studio anymore. Hey, CMFK, can you not pick apart this studio till the very end?
You know what we're gonna do? You're gonna buy the land.
Need to build some shit.
And you're gonna buy one of those tents from like Academy, dude. And it's just gonna be like
Put the studio in there?
Yeah.
Hey, CMFK, do we have anybody on there?
Yeah, there's one.
All right, get him on the line. We're taking callers this show.
We're taking a break or no?
No.
Break now?
Hey, caller, you on the line?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, sorry, man. My rant's been all over the place. I got thrown off, but I don't know if you heard it.
Oh, no, I caught most of it. My name's Vashir. I wrote a big article for Radar Online against Stern when he declared war on his fans a year and a half ago.
Oh, yeah? What was the war on his fans?
When he was saying he was going to hire private investigators to find out who on Twitter was attacking him, and it was a one-day war, basically, he declared on the website I was writing for at the time.
And did
So I
he
turned around
actually
and
go
wrote
to
a letter
war?
back to talking about why everybody hates he and Beth.
Right. And why do people hate him and Beth? Beth's his wife, right?
Well, we think so.
Yeah.
That's the story we're told anyway. Might be a beard, might not be.
Right. Yeah, she looks a little suspect.
What?
She looks a little
Yeah, she
suspect
does.
to me. I mean, I saw a picture the other day of her feet, and they were like, you see Shaquille O'Neal's shoe they have online? It was almost the
Yeah.
size of that.
Well, it's a size 13. It's like Peggy Hill from
Whoa.
King of the Hill cartoon.
Right.
The foot fetish videos.
So what happened with that whole war of his?
Well, it was a one-day war, obviously, because I wrote an article pointing out why the fans hated him and her now, how he had backed off of his being the everyman there was in the world and blue-collar guy like all of us, and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm the Hamptons man now. Look at me with all my new friends. I
Yeah.
can't say anything bad about them, and you have to love my wife because I'm pushing her on you, even though she doesn't want to be famous.
Yeah, and I feel like he's completely lost touch with being able to relate to the common man. Like if the common man walked up to this guy, he'd probably run away, terrified. Like he probably wants nothing to do with it.
But wouldn't he always have done that, though, is what it comes out to be?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it always a fucking act to us, you know?
Yeah, I tell you what, I was one of those idiots that went up to New York back on his last day of regular radio, and I'm not a wealthy guy by any means, right? And I bought this expensive plane ticket last minute. I got this hotel room. I actually stayed with some girl I found on Craigslist, which was pretty expensive because it's New York. I'm waiting in the rain. The guy just runs out and talks in front of everybody, and I'm like, okay, he's having a concert now. I guess everybody can go to it, right? Run over there. It's like Sheryl Crow, and I get turned away at the door. Everyone's turning. It's only him and his celebrity friends up there hanging out.
Oh, that figures.
Yeah, so that was his last day, like, to the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And I would be totally pissed off if I had gone through all that.
And then I see Joe Rogan the other day, right? Super class guy, right? I run into him. I go to this little On It event in Austin, and he's got like 900 people around him, and I'm talking. I'm like, hey, Joe, man, bro, if you got 5 minutes after you're done, I'd love to talk to you about podcasting. Obviously, he's a busy guy, right? But he was nice enough to turn to me and say, hey, man, I'm really busy here. I got to catch a plane right after, so I'm sorry I can't, right? And then I told him, hey, I'm the guy that did the Howard Stern rant. He acknowledged, but he acknowledged me, right? And he's out there with the fans. I think he's bigger than Howard Stern, right? So, I mean,
Right now, absolutely.
Right. How many listeners do you think Howard Stern actually has at this point? Do you think it's like, doesn't he insinuate like he gets pretty much everybody on Sirius?
I would say he has maybe 50,000.
50,000?
Maybe.
Wow. That's
Maybe.
a very low number. Definitely not worth the 80 to 100 million that he keeps trying to get out of these people. Don't you think that the app... What's that?
Do you want some proof of the? Do you want some proof of the numbers? It's kind of easy from my aspect because I'm a writer for Elisa Jordana's podcast.
Okay.
Which he plugged on a Monday, talking about how podcasting sucks, but Elisa was a writer here. I'm going to push this. Blah 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 blah. We had an increase of maybe 75 viewers that night.
Right.
That should have crashed Spreecast.
Oh, back in the day when I listened to him, he would mention a website had crashed. Nowadays he mentions a website. Nobody even goes to it.
So why is it all of a sudden now, if he has all these listeners, nobody gave a shit?
Because this whole time he's been lying to people and acting like he's bringing. Here, let me tell you exactly what fucking happened with Sirius and why they have that many listeners. Because technology marched on. It became easy to get satellite radio. It became very easy because it comes in every car. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg, right? It comes on your iPhone. It's a very available. So people got it, and they're more used to that technology. When it first came out, it was confusing. You'd go to like Circuit City, which doesn't even exist anymore, and there'd be a sales guy explaining it to you for an hour. It'd be a big decision. It's not anymore. You make a call. And me being a big Howard Stern fan back then, I listen to music. Most people ask that have Sirius, what do you listen to? I listen to music. Have you heard of Howard Stern? Yeah, he's on there, but I haven't checked him out. So I don't know about your 50,000 number, but I have a feeling it's pretty low. I'm not even going to speculate on it, but yeah.
Only because of the output I saw. And then if you look at his AGT numbers, the show has declined since he came on. So where are all these fans? Like you said, you bought a ticket and flew yourself out to New York to see him.
Right.
Why doesn't anybody do that anymore?
Right. So do you agree with me though? He's a greedy old prick.
Oh hell yeah, absolutely. He's just on a money grab right now.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's trying to grab as much money as he can because the guy has an insatiable appetite for money. That's what he judges himself by. His self-worth is his money because he's got this young wife and God knows she can't find him attractive, right? I don't think so. So he's probably in the back of his head thinking if all this shit goes away,
that girl's gone.
That girl's gone. And my life's gone. All my buddies are gone. And I can only hope, and I'm not a religious person, but I'm going to pray to Jesus right here that Howard Stern and invest in one of his hedge fund buddies and they turn out to be the next Bernie Madoff. That would just make me so fucking happy the way he sold out. I just hope he's throwing his money in with one of these Bernie Madoff type characters. And I bet you he's hanging out with some of these weird type hedge fund dudes, you know, like you don't know exactly. I always got that feeling listening to him. He'd always be around these hedge fund guys.
Well, what was up with Chauncey Hayden having to be brought up before the SEC right after the stock announcement was made that he was going to Sirius?
Yeah.
That right there was the red flag up to everybody.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but hey, thanks for calling in, man. Hey, aren't you from, are you one of the guys from the Dog Shed? Do you post on there? Okay,
I just want to be the news editor over there.
Okay, well, I just want to give a shout out to the guys at the Dog Shed, and if any of our listeners want to check it out, it's the DAWGSHED dogshed.com.
That's it.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in. All right, man. Well, hey, we're going to take a break here. We got Metalhead calling in. Dr. Wilson's in. But we'll be right back after these words.